Every AI conversation still starts in the same place: tools, skills, and headcount. Now, while it sounds productive, it keeps missing the real fault line. In most organizations, AI isn't failing because of the technology and it can't perform. It's actually failing because leaders are locking decisions in place while the ground is still moving. The value is shifting, authority is shifting, and the work itself is being renegotiated. And yet, there are organizations that keep acting as if this moment has already stabilized. And that's how you end up with a lot of AI activity and very little sustainable change. Welcome to the channel. I am Trent Cotton, the human capitalist. I've noticed that there is a big difference between HR business practices and how business actually gets done. I've spent over 20 years in HR helping the C-suite rebuild their organization while the world around them shifted. I've designed this channel to be an intelligence briefing on the business of people. So, if you're a CEO, board member, or a CHRO looking for the signal in the noise, welcome to the channel. Now, let's get to work. This video is the third part in a series. In the second episode, we actually talked about one of the mistakes that leaders keep making, which is seeing skills as actually being the problem. They focus on training, literacy, and adoption. But what actually breaks isn't capability. It's who gets to decide, who can override, and who owns the outcome whenever AI actually informs a choice. Because without that clarity, AI doesn't increase confidence, it increases ambiguity, but it does it at scale. Now, here's where things compound. Even leaders who slow down restructuring or they start taking governance seriously, they often make one final and very critical mistake. They rush to lock in the workforce model. And that brings us to decision error number 3. This is the moment whenever organizations say, now we know how everything's going to work and what our org is going to look like. Now we can define roles and now we can size up the workforce. So what they do is they launch these wonderful programs like job architectures, capability models, and 3-year workforce plans. All of this is built on assumptions that are still moving. And see, that's the mistake. In my last role as head of talent and culture, the leaders wanted me to scope out the org of the future. They wanted new reporting structures, new job titles, new job descriptions, and a strategy that would fast track us being able to arrive at this mysterious, wonderful future of the org. Now, my peers probably thought that I was dragging my feet, but the real reason that I was slowing down is because I wanted to avoid this common error. And look, I get it. Leaders, they want some type of certainty, and finance is needing a headcount plan. And what everyone's looking for is some type of control. And after years of disruption, their real desire is to say, okay, wait, now we have it. The problem is, but look, AI doesn't provide stabilization. It actually oftentimes punishes it. There's a hidden risk. In most organizations today, only a small percentage of AI use cases have actually proven some type of value. In fact, some scale, some stall, and some have been abandoned entirely. Yet workforce models are being designed as if today's experiments are actually going to be tomorrow's operating system. Multiple surveys have actually shown that 1% of executives describe their Gen AI rollouts as being mature, and only about a quarter say that they can actually extract some type of tangible value outside of just a proof of concept. So what's the real error under decision error number 3? Leaders confuse temporary clarity with structural truth. They mistake early patterns for some type of stable reality, and they design the workforce models as if the environment is just going to stop changing. It hasn't, and Lord knows it's not going to anytime soon. So why keep doing the same mistake, especially when AI only amplifies and most often accelerates any type of mistake? And this matters because AI does not behave like any of our previous technology waves. It doesn't just automate a process or replace a system or introduce a new tool. It keeps learning and it keeps shifting the boundary between human judgment and machine execution. Now, what this means is that tasks keep moving, skills keep evolving, and team structures have to keep up. And that's why making this static workforce model is going to make you incredibly vulnerable. Strong leaders aren't avoiding structure, they're actually delaying its permanence. They like to treat it as an experiment versus a construction of something like the Notre Dame. Here are some principles that I would use to make sure that I avoid some of these errors. The first is to delay any type of irreversible move. Avoid decisions that are going to be hard to unwind. But I also too want to challenge you. Look at how can you pilot new jobs? How can you time box and experiment? In a highly volatile environment, the advantage goes to the organizations that keep their workforce model as a living system, not as a finished blueprint. All right, principle two, pilot decision models before roles. Now, unfortunately, this is the part that I see a lot of organizations skip. They start with the jobs. Discipline leaders, they actually start with decision. They like to ask, what decisions does AI inform? What decision does AI recommend? And what decisions must remain human and why? Once that decision work model is in place, roles can be designed to support it, not the other way around. All right, the last principle, it's subtle, but it's very powerful. Instead of optimizing for narrow roles tied to specific tools, invest in transferable capabilities and design internal mobility so that people can move as that value and need shift. Now, let me pause here for a second because I really think that internal mobility is widely overlooked little pot of gold, and especially now. Learning new AI processes, mindsets, and tools is overwhelmingly enough, but why would you want to add learning a new team culture, team dynamics, and processes to the problem? That's why I think internal mobility is actually going to help companies achieve scale. They already have the institutional knowledge, they understand how the company works. And in this environment, they'll be super loyal to a company who's willing to invest in their future. So if you're not considering how your current employees actually fit into your iterative model, you're missing out on a great opportunity. So, if you're a leader and you hear nothing else, what I want you to know is stop thinking about workforce models as blueprints. Start treating them like living systems, something that you can iterate on, something that you can revise and update to go with the time. So, why is this all so important? Well, the smartest organizations, they're designing for adaptability, not just efficiency. Now, if you step back and look at all of this, it actually comes into focus. Leaders are not failing because they're slow. They're actually failing because they're making irreversible people decisions too early. What they're doing is they are redesigning roles before mapping the value. They're training skills before actually defining the authority. And then they're locking in workforce models before the work is actually stabilized. AI is forcing everyone to be more discerning. So here's the real question that I want to leave you with as a leader. Which people decisions are we making permanent before we fully understand how AI is going to change the work? That's the leadership challenge that I'm seeing right now. Not faster adoption, better judgment.